lovely evening, isn't it? Maybe not so much for you as it is for me, but I don't know. If we're just talking about the weather, that is an objective truth. That is a lovely evening. If we're talking about our respective positions vis-a-vis shopkeeper, bandit, well, maybe it's a better evening for me than it is for you. It don't gotta be that way. See, I'm of the mind that any storekeeper worth their salt would know that you don't stick around after dark in a town like this doing inventory without first thoroughly checking your place of business before locking up. And you did not do that. And that's the only reason I was able to get the drop on you tonight. So, maybe you're new. You don't look new. Maybe you don't think there's all that much here to guard. Well, that's not really the point, though, is it? I mean, you're just one of them people who think bad things don't happen to them. Bad things just happen to other people. If I'm being totally honest with you, I've found myself in that school of thought before, but I dropped out. So I'll tell you what. I'm not in the mood to shoot anybody tonight, and I'm guessing you're not in the mood to get shot. So, as a show of good faith, but I want you to know, I'm one of the fastest draws in these parts, so before you get any ideas about you got a shotgun underneath behind here, whatever, I think again. Now, that's not to say that I'm not here to rob you, 'cause I surely am here to rob you. But I don't think there's any reason why we can't both come out of this and tete-a-tete. Both a little smarter, a little wiser. Your coin purse a little lighter, mine a little heavier. But perhaps you'll take something else away from this encounter. Interested me when I came in here earlier today. You have a broad assortment of items. It's definitely a general store in the strictest sense. Well, I've never been here before. I'm just passing through. You just got lucky. Yeah, you may not feel lucky right now. But there's worse men than me. You care for a swig? I ain't got no diseases or nothing. stuff. So I came here en route to meet a friend of mine. Goes by the name of Arthur Morgan. Maybe you heard of him. Well, I'd describe him for you, but he looks like just about any other cowboy who'd ride through these parts. Hell, he looks like me. I'm supposed to meet him at some cabins past Cumberland Farm. You know it? Know any cabins up that way? Yeah. See? We're gonna get along real nice, I think. What's this? Got a longhorn right here. I've been riding all day. Set up camp just outside the outskirts of town. And that's when I noticed I was running a bit low on supplies. Wasn't even planning on coming through town. To be honest, I prefer to skirt civilization when I can. I got more than one Pinkerton after me. But things be what things be. Not much I can do about that. And right now, there's not much you can do about that. So, maybe you just want to make yourself comfortable. So, where do you keep the valuables in this place? I mean the truly valuables. Well, I'm sure you would have me think that. But I ain't stupid. At least, not quite as stupid as I look. So I figure you got something here somewhere. Worth my time. Well, yeah, actually. I do consider medicine to be well worth my time. Books. I ain't much of a reader. Why don't you fill me in a little bit? Tell me what you got. They shoot horses, don't they? Oh, yeah, they do. short book. You know, in my profession and from my associations, I've learned that it's not always good to count on your ability to finish a book that you start. So, a lot of times, what I do is I just read the end. And maybe start back in the beginning. But that way, just in case anything funny happens, I already know what the ending was. Learned that from When Harry Met Sally. So let's see what the end of this book has got for us. When I was a little kid, I used to spend the summers on my grandfather's farm in Arkansas. One day I was standing by the smokehouse, watching my grandmother making lye soap in a big iron kettle, when my grandfather came across the yard very excited. "Nellie broke her leg," my grandfather said. My grandmother and I went over the stile into the garden where my grandfather had been plowing. Old Nellie was on the ground whimpering, still hitched to the plow. We stood there looking at her, just looking at her. My grandfather came back with a gun he had carried at Chickamauga Ridge. Familiar with that. "She stepped in a hole," he said, patting Nellie's head. My grandmother turned me around facing the other way. I started crying. I heard a shot. I still hear that shot. I ran over and fell down on the ground, hugging her neck. I loved that horse. I hated my grandfather. I got up and went to him, beating his legs with my fists. Later that day, he explained that he loved Nellie too, but that he had to shoot her. It was the kindest thing to do, he said. She was no more good. It was the... Well, I don't think I'm going to be reading the beginning of that book. Let's talk a little bit about that medicine you were referring to earlier. What sort of medicines are we talking about? Kind of lotions or potions? Back here? Tempus fugitus, Wellington, Ohio. What do these do? You know, I'm well acquainted with all sorts of quackery. Like a headache powder. You'd argue my friend Arthur's given me 1 or 2 headaches in my time. Of course, he saved my life too. So. Can't really discount that. You don't mind if I take this with me? What else? Granulus mucilum. Why? I walk into most general stores and their medicines got names like headache powder, stomach aid, tummy better. Why the names on yours so, it sounds made up, is what it sounds. Latin. I don't know, just looks like barley to me. If you say so. I know where you work. Close enough. All right. What else you got here? Zoloft. Well, what does this do? Makes you happy. Happy. I already got something that does that. Well, happy enough anyway. What are you saying? At that hole that I feel before I go to sleep around the campfire at night. This stops that. Gotten sort of used to living with that hole. Can't say there isn't a large part of me that wouldn't be grateful were I able to make it disappear. I don't know. Sometimes I think you're given a thing and you're supposed to carry it. And if you try and pass it on to somebody else, maybe you get relieved for a while, but ultimately it's like a favor. It needs to be repaid. It's like a debt of misery. I think sometimes, if life gives you misery, there ain't nothing to do but for you to just go through it, experience it, fight your way out of it. You're saying I could just make it go away with these pills, huh? That is a compelling notion. I just don't know if I believe that it does not have side effects that might be worse than the misery itself. Oh, I've been through my fair share, yes. I have lost the trust of those whom I love. And that is something that never comes back. You can't earn it through suffering. Sometimes you gotta know when to call a race. Sometimes you gotta know when it's time to put one through Nellie's head. Now maybe it's possible that taking a pill makes that a little easier. Truth is, I don't know if I want it to be any easier. Our hardships forge us. A friend of mine used to always say to me, "Lo que no mata engorda." It's a joke. It's a play on the words. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I don't know, I'm a little hesitant to take your Zoloft. That name just sounds even funnier than the others. Like it was made up. So I'm gonna leave that one for you. Maybe you'll need a little extra after I leave tonight. What's this? Oh, that is a beautiful box. Wonder what sort of treasure you keep in a box like this. Oh, it's empty. Guess the treasure is the box. Maybe there's a lesson there too. We're both just learning all kinds of things this evening, ain't we? I guess the question that we need to ask ourselves as we plow through the daily ordeal that constitutes our existence is the purpose of life avoiding pain, or is it pursuing pleasure? Now, when I say pursuing pleasure, I don't mean in a back of the pool hall kind of way. I'm talking about the pleasure one derives from anything. Simple things. Family. Sunsets. I'm not only referring to bacchanalia. And it ain't really the same thing. You know, one might say, well, the pursuit of pleasure is the same thing as the avoidance of pain. But I think any man who spent a winter out there, nothing more than a couple of branches burning on a wet heap of ground, trying to stay warm, trying to make it through the night, burning with fever, but still freezing. I think you ask that man if there's a difference between the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain, and the lines are pretty well drawn. Now, maybe that man is wrong. Maybe they are the same thing. I don't think so. Nope, I don't think that at all. I think that the pursuit of pleasure can be moral. It can be amoral. It can be ethical. It can be unethical. The avoidance of pain, well, everybody should be entitled to avoid pain. They shouldn't be prevented from stopping that which causes them pain because of some ethical conundrum. So as far as the question goes, do I take your Zoloft or do I leave it? I think I'll leave it. There have been times in my life when I have been called upon to do things that I did not want to do, things that I did not believe were right. And in those situations, I had a choice. I could put aside my own concerns about morality, the right and wrong of what I was being asked to do, and I could load that burden upon the person asking me to do the thing. Of course, that only takes you so far, but sometimes you owe somebody. It comes back to that debt. Now, the question I ask myself over and over is, if the time came and a friend asked me to put them out of their misery, much like Grandpa put Nellie out of her misery, would I be able to do it? One, would that be considered strength to do it? Or would it be weakness? And if it's strength, would I have that strength? And if it was weakness, of course, well, we've all got weakness. I'm hoping that question don't get asked about nobody I care about any more than, say, a horse. But this is not a pleasant era. We are frontiersmen. We are outlaws. Even you. You've set up a shop here in what we've called civilization, but making up the rules as we go. 100 years from now, people will look back on the things you sold, how you sold them. Probably think you were barbaric. Except for maybe this Zoloft here, maybe. Turnstile could go either way on that one. I do like this box, although I confess I do not have much use for it. Well, I think I'm gonna exercise a bit of restraint this evening and not relieve you of anything else, accepting what I've already done, and head out there past Cumberland. Maybe I'm not too late. Made Arthur. There's a friend. He'd never asked me to do anything like that. Alright, so consider yourself lucky. Next time before you close up, you do a once around your entire store. You make sure there's nobody in it. Then you lock the door. Alright? Alright, it's a pleasure doing business with you. Hopefully I won't see you around. And for your own sake, you don't want to see me around either, so just mum's the word, okay? You have a pleasant evening.